Laguna Woods Village has its manicured trees, lawns, flowers, and I think our next guests have a little bit to say about all of those things and more, probably. I want to welcome from the Garden Club, Geneva Benza and Annalena Anderson. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So you guys have, tell us a little bit about what the club's all about. Before we get into your event, what's the club all about?
Well, it's not just about growing flowers and things like that. We also have our goal to meet people and have social activities, and we encourage people to mingle and talk. After the meeting, we have the snacks afterwards, and we also have new member happy hours where we serve a little champagne and snacks.
So you know how to grow grapes.
Well, I wish we were allowed to. They don't want us to grow fruits and vegetables because that encourages rats.
Oh, well.
So, we twice a year we have that. And then we have meetings on different topics, and we also have a holiday luncheon and a garden fair in April.
Yeah, so many of the clubs are really about community more than they are sometimes even about the events and the things that happen. The garden is just kind of a way to build community, people like-minded. Do you find that yourself, Annalena, when you kind of came to the club?
I'm not a member of the club.
You're not a member of the club?
I'm not a member of the
you're
club. I'm here representing the Orange County Master Gardeners.
Okay, that's right. And so you guys have a big event coming up, right? We're going to talk about orchids. We have an orchid out here on the set, and it's looking fantastic. It's looking much better than mine at my house. I swear, it's a stem. It had flowers, and it was beautiful for a long time. So what are some of the things you're going to talk about at the event?
Well, this lecture is basically on orchid culture, very basic. I will talk a little bit about where orchids originate from and the diversity of orchids, which is tremendous. I will talk about how to take care of your orchids, what your orchids need in order to live and bloom. I will talk a little bit about how orchids are propagated, where they come from. And also, if time allows, I will talk about pests and diseases that might affect your orchids.
Now, are there any native orchids to California?
There are many native orchids to California. They're not very spectacular, so you may miss them. But even along roadsides, you might find native orchids, and yes.
Okay, because I really thought an orchid was more of a hothouse kind of a flower. It had to have all this kind of real sense. But you can, in a drier environment, you can have an orchid?
Absolutely. Orchids grow on every continent except Antarctica. And they grow in almost desert-like conditions in some places and up in the rainforests. As a matter of fact, when orchids first started coming to Britain, that's what people thought. They had to have a very hot and humid environment. And rich people built this fantastic greenhouses.
Right.
And they killed their orchids because it was too humid and too hot. There's just a huge variety in climate requirements for orchids.
So I think that's probably one of the biggest things that people probably get wrong about orchids then, right? I mean, does everybody think, oh, I steamed it, I did all these things, and it still somehow died?
Yeah, and I have to water it all the time, which is not true, because if you think about it, orchids grow very much up in trees. They have their roots exposed to the air, and they may get a rain shower every morning, but they don't stay soggy. The roots need to dry out. The roots need air in addition to water.
Wow.
So most people kill their orchids from overwatering.
Okay, yeah, mine's on death's door. I kept hearing it's going to come back, but I'm not seeing it yet. So
keep it on the dry side.
Okay, good step. Tell us a little bit about what you guys, the events you have coming up and things you guys do.
Okay, well, as well as the happy hour and the orchid meeting, we have a floral arrangement expert coming in September, and we have someone from the bird of prey rescue people coming in October. So I'm very
that's fun.
excited about that. Yes.
Yeah. And now, do you guys when you guys get together, I mean, what are the conversations like? Is it flowers? Is it community? Is it what you guys had last night? Is it a little bit of everything? I want people to know that, you know, it doesn't have to be just about people who love kind of gardening, right?
I agree.
Okay.
During the pandemic, we had a presentation on fermentation, which is a method of taking your vegetables and increasing their nutritional value and digestibility. Mm-hmm. And we also had another one on eating for optimal health, because the pandemic was going on, and we thought this would be of great interest. So yeah, we've had drawing workshops, and artists come, mm-hmm. and things like that. I think photography might be a very interesting.
Right, nature photography. Yeah.
Yes.
How does birds help me understand? How does birds of prey get into gardening? Is it because they're getting the predators that get in your garden?
Actually, there is stuff that we as people can do to help these animals avoid getting injured. And that to me was a big draw for having them here, just to learn more about them, because gardening isn't just about plants. We've got pollinators and birds. In fact, I'm doing a hummingbird garden in my patio, and I'm exploring the different plants that the hummingbirds like, excuse me, and learning a lot about that, and it's just so much fun to see them.
Yeah.
And the other birds too. A lot of other birds come.
I grew up around here, and I remember, I don't know if it's still there, but in either Santiago Canyon or Majeska Canyon, when I was a kid, we went to a hummingbird kind of farm, and we walked in there, and there was every kind of hummingbird in the world. It was all netted and enclosed. It was really amazing. It was kind of a bird sanctuary of some sort.
Yeah.
It's still there.
And yeah, this is still there?
Yes,
and
a lot of hummingbirds in the Majeska Canyon.
And I remember learning a little bit about how they have to eat every 15 minutes, and how they kind of hibernate every night, and I was kind of fascinated by that. And then the different ones that can kind of, as you talk about pollinators, and their kind of essential role in a lot of plant life that we maybe not always understand. We think, oh, bees are pollinators, but that's not it, is it?
A lot of insects are pollinators, and so we want to get them in our garden.
Right, so we shouldn't be blasting pesticides and kind of avoid those kind of things, right? And good advice for what do you guys kind of advice do you give folks who think, oh, we got to get all these bugs out of here?
We like to use water to get rid of them, and then use the safer ones when water fails.
Okay. All right. I want a tip about an orchid. Give me mine is I know people have to come to get all the tips, but give me at least one good tip about what I'm doing wrong with orchids, or what folks commonly do wrong. You said overwatering. Do you trim back orchids once the flowers are gone? Do you cut them?
Well, you can. Now, it all depends. When this orchid finishes blooming, all the flowers will fall off, and there will be no more buds. If the stem is still green, you can cut it at one of those little nodules that you see. I don't know if you want to bring it over here.
Yeah, we have a close-up. We have a great close-up on it right now on the screen.
Okay, so go down to the stem right there. Yes, exactly there. And if you cut it right above, it might send out another flower spike.
Oh, okay.
But producing flowers takes a lot of energy out of plants. So you may not want to do that too much.
Okay.
So the other option is to cut those stems all the way down.
All the way down, and then hopefully
it will
regenerate.
Probably come with another spike and maybe even bigger flowers next year, because they will have the energy.
For the rest of the tips, we're going to have to go to your presentation, and we'll make sure people get out to that. Thank you very much, guys, for coming. We really appreciate it. And Alina and Geneva, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Still to come, we'll be right back with the Bridge Club and the work they are doing to help support Alzheimer's research. Stay with us.